Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the third and final evening of the Greater Ottumwa Partners in Progress candidate debates. Tonight, obviously, is the Ottumwa City Council candidates. So first and foremost, I'd like to thank everybody that is attending here tonight to watch this, and a special thank you also to anybody that might be streaming at home. And just as a reminder, this is being recorded live, so if you want to go back and watch this after the fact, feel free to do that. This will be streamed on the Greater Ottumwa Partners in Progress Facebook page. I'd like to send a special thank you to Matt Thompson and Indian Hills Community College for allowing us to utilize their facility this evening. And evidently we have a lot of first-timers at Indian Hills, so hopefully they have a chance to walk around after the fact. I'd like to take a moment to thank our steadfast moderator team, Kyle Ocker and Ellis Kojo from the Ottumwa Courier and the Ottumwa Radio Group. And for anybody that might not be registered to vote, we do have voter registration cards out in the lobby, so feel free to go out there and fill those out, and we can get those taken care of for you. So how tonight looks is going to be very much similar to the format that we used, obviously not for the mayoral debates because there are several more people here, but exactly the same as the format for the Ottumwa School Board. Everybody will be seated alphabetically by their last name. However, prior to everybody showing up, the candidates all drew numbers. All of the questions in advance of today were pre-numbered, and the order that they answer the questions are, unless they're specifically called out on a topic, they will answer in the order that they drew the number in. So the first question might be 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The next question might be 3, 4, 1, 2, 4, 5, whatever. So just so everybody is aware of that. And as a reminder of what the rules are, there is no opening statement for the evening. All of the candidates will be given 3 minutes for closing. Our Miss Diana here will be timekeeping each of the questions. There will be 2 minutes for a response time, 1 minute for a rebuttal, and if there is a clarification from one of the moderators, they will have 30 seconds to do so. Miss Diana at 1 minute, 30 seconds, 15 seconds, and time up will be lifting those time indicators. And we haven't had this happen yet, and I don't suspect that it'll happen tonight, but if they do go significantly over their time limit, there is a mic cut. So unfortunately for anybody streaming from this at home, they will not be hearing the candidate from that point forward. So nobody came here to listen to me talk, so we will start bringing the candidates out one by one, and we're going to go in a little bit of a reverse order. And first to the stage is Ian Troester. Followed by Dan Reid. Followed by Hector Hernandez. Followed by Cara Galloway. And last but not least, JoElla Duprey.
What motivated you to run for city council, and what perspective or priorities would you bring that current council doesn't have? First question goes to Mr. Reid. You have 2 minutes.
I see the city council job as being something that people need to do. We need to have people do it. It's work, it's effort, and it's easy to say, oh no, that's for somebody else. But to be a servant to the people, I think, is a good thing. It is. I was recently retired when I started this, and so I thought, well, this is a way I can give back. This is a way I can give back to our town, help out with something that needs to be done. And I do want to be a person that can be a liaison between our people in town and problems they might have, and be able to come to certain city people, staff, and so on to find an answer for their issue. And so if I can be a help to people, that's what I want to do. And so that's my motivation.
Mr. Troester, you have 2 minutes.
There are two main things that led me to want to run for city council. And the number one thing is that I grew up in Northeast Iowa. Northeast Iowa is full of incredibly small communities. And I have seen many of them slowly dissolve away as different things left the area and moved to the larger cities. And I recognize that Ottumwa is in a position where we could be that larger city that takes in the smaller cities around us, but we need to actually give them a reason to come here, and we need to be the first one to make these changes. We are in a competition with the towns around us. And also, in order to do that, we need to be able to take risks, and we need many new ideas, because currently, and for the last many years, it has been bring back what we once lost. But we need to think about where we can go. Also, this city is incredibly multicultural, and as a teacher, I see that firsthand. I do not believe we are tying everyone in with the community into the decisions that are being made by the council and various other parts, and I want to help all of these different communities be recognized and be incorporated inside of the decisions with the city. In all of the decisions, if I'm elected, I want to think who is impacted and how are they being impacted, and try to think outside of my own bubble.
Mr. Hernandez, you have 2 minutes.
My reason for running is because I bring a different perspective that than no recent time Ottumwa has seen before. I come from a diverse background. I'm youth, 27 years old. I also worked in local government, as well as currently working under transportation infrastructure, so I'm aware of different infrastructure funding opportunities that we can take advantage of, which we have not had in recent years. So I also come from an urban planning background, which I am really focused on community outreach. So this is a position that does dedicate time for community outreach, which I would be very involved with, reaching out different methods, but that's why I'm running.
Ms. Duprey, you have 2 minutes.
I bring a lot of work experience. I've had 27 years working in offices, accounting with CPAs, government accounting. I've worked in large industries such as aerospace and oil, construction, and small builders. So I bring back with me a lot of ability to look at a budget, a spreadsheet, but I, in my 50s, decided to go back to school and become a nurse. So I have my BSN, which gave me critical thinking skills and the ability to separate my personal feelings with taking care of things on a non-personal basis, because when you're taking care of a patient, you don't see any kind of diversity, you see a patient. So I look at things totally different than most people. When I look at a spreadsheet or even the community, I'm looking at the health of the city financially, and also looking at their health as well. So I have a totally different perspective.
Ms. Galloway, 2 minutes.
I'm running for re-election because I continue to believe in Ottumwa. I believe in the people, I believe in the progress we've made, and I also believe in the youth. I believe that Ottumwa has come a long way in the last 4 years, and there's still a lot for us to do. And I believe that we're on the right track to do that, and we have to have the right people in place to continue to do that. I'm a mom raising my daughter in Ottumwa. It's funny to hear her say some of the things that she loves about Ottumwa and the growth that she would love to see, and I bring that perspective. I'm running too because I believe and I take pride in listening to the people of Ottumwa, the people who work for Ottumwa. I truly believe in where we are today, and I believe in what Ottumwa can be tomorrow.
Thank you. Serving on the council requires reviewing materials, communicating with staff, and addressing constituent concerns outside of formal meetings. For the incumbents on the stage, on average, how much time do you currently spend preparing for meetings and working with staff to address citizens' concerns? For the challengers, how much time are you prepared to commit to this work each week? Ms. Galloway, you'll have the first response for 2 minutes.
I was actually just thinking about this the other day as I was reviewing some engineer contracts and how long was being spent on that. But I would say this is not a job that you come in and expect maybe a couple hours every couple weeks for our meetings. On average, I would say I spend on the low side about 15 hours a week, but probably average about 20 hours a week, whether that's responding to emails, preparing, going to my committee meetings, talking to citizens, talking to our administrator. A minimum, I would say, an average of 15 to 20 hours a week, and there are many times that it is more than that, and I will continue to do that because, again, that's what this job takes if you truly want to understand the needs, the concerns, and the progress of our community.
Thank you. Mr. Reid, you have the next response for 2 minutes.
So it does vary a little bit depending on what is on the agenda and how many items there are to read through. But yes, you spend time reading through multiple times actually, and marking, and maybe writing down some questions, and then maybe an opportunity to go see the administrator or to see the finance director or the mayor and ask a question. Hey, give me some clarifying ideas here on this. And so you're spending time with that in preparing, and of course the meetings are just every other week generally. So you're preparing, reading through the material, you're visiting the staff a little bit, you are receiving calls from people in town about various problems, and you go and meet with them and go see the issue that they're talking about. So I really don't know what kind of time to say is on it. But I would say probably by the time you go to different committee meetings that you're assigned to and so on, that you're going to spend, usually, I'm speaking for myself anyway, probably 7 hours or so a week.
Thank you. Mr. Troester, you're next. 2 minutes.
I plan to spend way too much time on it because, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on who you ask, I'm really used to, as a teacher, being 100% on all the time. I check my email way more than I should because I really like to do a good job and get communication across to the people that need it in a timely manner. I really don't like leaving people hanging. I don't like leaving students hanging, parents hanging, administration hanging, and I wouldn't want to do that with the community either. People have very legitimate concerns they want to bring up, and if I have a possible answer to them, or if I can get information for them, I want to get it as soon as possible. Also, if I were to come up with an actual hour estimate, I think time in a job like this is really, really hard to quantify because it could be I have meeting minutes or agendas that I'm scanning. It could be just I'm waiting for my son to come out from his childcare. I'm waiting at the door, open up my phone, scan through some agendas, meeting minutes. How do I quantify all of those little pauses when I'm trying to get caught up? I don't know. I think it's up to other people to decide that.
Thank you. Mr. Hernandez, 2 minutes for you.
Yeah. So it's a little hard to determine how much time to dedicate on preparing agendas or reading minutes, because in my current position, I do create agendas, also minutes, and it varies from topic to topic. Depending on the topic, it could range anywhere from an hour to 2 hours, and longer agendas could be closer to 5 to 6 hours, plus doing the outreach. That's the most important part, making sure that everyone knows the concerns regarding the item on the agenda and making sure that everyone's heard, because that's pretty much getting the emails, getting the phone calls, making sure that everyone has an input. And that's why that could take, it really, like I said, it's a little hard to determine what number of hours we could use, but it could be anywhere from like 10 hours, 5 hours for reviewing it to all the way to like 15, 20 hours. It's really hard to determine depending on the agenda item and also just knowing how much outreach we need to do for staffing too as well and the community members.
Thank you. Ms. Duprey, 2 minutes.
Well, I'm a volunteer, and I'm used to volunteering, and anybody that knows me knows that I put in 100%. When I moved back here, for instance, I went to the museum and offered to volunteer 1 day a week, 4 hours. That turned into a 40-hour-a-week job as we moved and went through things. So I never go into anything half-heartedly. So I would assume, because this is new, I would probably put at least 20 to 30 hours in. I am retired. I don't have other responsibilities other than my husband. And I would want to look at everything. And when I find something I don't understand, I go and I ask questions, and I keep researching until I feel confident. For instance, getting prepared for this, I've met all of the directors except one, and my calendar is full. So I'm imagining that I have probably already put in 20 hours this week just doing research. It's just the way I am. So I would put in as much as it takes to come down to the answers that I need so that when I went to the meetings, I would feel fully prepared, because it wouldn't be right if I didn't feel fully prepared. How could I vote on something I didn't understand?
Thank you. What does economic development mean to you, and what should the council's role be in fostering job growth, business investment, and opportunity in Ottumwa? Mr. Bray, you have the first response for 2 minutes.
Well, obviously we need economic development in this city. We have to have some good paying jobs. And in order to do that, I think the city does need to find some way of incentivizing companies to come here. And one of the ways we could do that is they're talking about turning this college into a 4-year college. And by doing that, you're going to inspire students to come here. And when you are a 4-year college town, there's more jobs that are going to be provided because they need housing, they do more shopping, they live here. They also are going to have new careers. So we've got kids out here that are going, they're kids because I'm older, that are looking at new, like cybersecurity or the laser or the nursing. And I think that if we coupled with that and targeted companies that would not only provide them internships, but long-term jobs, we might be able to get some good paying jobs here. With good paying jobs, we get housing, we get more revenue coming in all the time.
Thank you. Mr. Hernandez, you have the next response for 2 minutes.
Yeah, my thoughts on economic development are just the growth of the economy, the local economy, the jobs throughout the community, and also just knowing how to partner with different educational systems such as Indian Hills, as well as the Ottumwa High School, because those are very important entities that we need to involve to create job retention and also just create new opportunities for employers and higher paying jobs, as well as just higher educated workers. So I think that's just partnerships between different entities is what I think economic development is. It's just a prosperous growth of the tax base. That's what I feel is a successful economic development, and also just being aware of what job creations are throughout the community, and that's kind of what I see economic development as defined.
Thank you. Mr. Troester, 2 minutes, please.
I think the economic development at Ottumwa has two main things that everyone constantly talks about, and it's still always true. We need to focus on housing and jobs. And with the housing, I think we need to be willing to take a hit to help fund it. Building homes is astronomically expensive for how much we can possibly sell them in Ottumwa. It's not going to happen if we're not willing to actually put funding towards it and put effort into making sure it happens. But the bigger thing I actually want to focus on is the jobs. For the past at least decade, it's been, can we get more factories to either come here or come back to Ottumwa? Can we re-expand what once was? And I think we need to not focus on that so hard, and instead we need to focus on what new different jobs could we possibly provide people in Ottumwa that we have not considered? What that would involve is we need to actually research. We need to see what's out there. We need to actually talk to the community and see what they're willing to do. Could there be, for example, 2-year programs that we help set people up with in order to provide these jobs? Things we could imagine thinking are like, maybe we should set up long-term, year-round greenhouses in the area. Is that a possible solution? Is there telework that we could get people involved in? We need to look into it, and we need to try to see who can do it and what's available. And we're already funding research in trying to get companies to come in here, spreading those words out. Can we spread out that research into just looking more into what is happening, what's out there, what's available, and what can we get a hold of?
Can I push back a little bit on that?
1 minute rebuttal, Ms. Galloway.
There's some of that I really agree with, but I would also push back and say that I think our partners like Greater Partners in Progress and Legacy have been looking outside of the box of these bringing factories. Actually, I think it's one of the things that Mark comes and talks about a lot to the city council of, we need to, exactly what you just said, we need to get away from this. And I think over the last few years that we've been partnering with Meet Ottumwa in its new form, we as a city have also been looking at that. Our community development has been working with retail strategies on different ways and different industries to bring back to Ottumwa. So while I understand what you're saying and I do agree with that, that is something that we are already working on and we need to continue to work on to make it stronger.
Interestingly enough, Ms. Galloway, you have a next response. So what does economic development mean to you?
Well, great. I guess I could have waited. So all of that. But I would also say that economic development to me is a multi-tier approach. So we've heard people talk about job creations and a little bit about housing, but we also, I've talked about this in the forum, quality of life. So when we are able to focus on all of those areas and not just focus on one, that's really when we start to see our economic development, because it's like a vicious cycle. There are developers who want to come to Ottumwa, but they have a roof minimum. And we already know that we have some sort of housing shortage where you want to buy houses, but we need to build more houses. So developers want, or businesses want to come to Ottumwa, but they want a roof minimum. And so then we need to build houses, but then we also need people and workers to live in those houses, then to also bring businesses. So I think it really is not just focusing on one approach, but focusing on that, multi-tier. So what are our quality of life? What are those things that are going to attract those people to be here? What are the businesses that we can get, and what are the houses? So we truly need to focus on all of those areas to truly have a strong economic development program in Ottumwa. And I think by having strong partnerships with like Rippling Water, Legacy, GOPIP, and different programs like that, that's really where we start to see that. And through our Thriving Communities designation, we're going to see a lot of this stuff come to fruition over the next few years.
Thank you. Mr. Reid, you have 2 minutes.
Economic development. I think of jobs, of course, as has been mentioned. Housing, very important. Making the most of what we already have, developing some of the things that we have, the quality of life issues, the trails, the benefits around town. I think of just general prosperity of our people, higher property values. Back to the list, the jobs we have. We need to bring in jobs that are not just a repeat of what we already have, that will just take away from one business and bring the money to a different business. We need new kinds of things that will bring people in from out of town. So that actually brings dollars into Ottumwa, not just shifting from one place to another with things we have. So we need things that we don't already have, things that will draw in dollars. As far as the housing, definitely we need to be, as a city, investing in ourselves. So we need to invest in a way to improve housing, to bring housing here. And what I mean by that is, like with the Alta Vista site, putting in streets, putting in the utilities that are needed so a developer can come in and actually do the job and build the houses. So we invest in ourselves by preparing the way for that developer. we have people that are hired, we have people that we pay money to that are looking for jobs to bring to our city. And so we do have people working, plus our own local organizations that were mentioned that are very, very important. We have a lot of feelers out there trying to find good economic development for our town.
Can I?
Yeah, I was going to give you a minute to respond if you'd like.
Yeah. So Dan talked about investing in the things we have in the city and not just trying to do that, but get new things into the city that don't compete with what we have. And okay, are we good? A big thing I actually believe in that ties in with the economic development is, unfortunately, a lot of people don't know what we actually currently have. And I think a lot of that ties into it's difficult to communicate in this current day and age about what we actually have, what we have available. The internet is really, really hard to use, especially the more it gets bogged down. So I think we need to focus on print, signage. We need to partner with people in order to have things people can have in their hands that give updates about what's going on with the city. Maybe even blast out our businesses on our city webpage on a cycle. Utilize more things than just Facebook. Educate people on what we've got.
Thank you. Ottumwans have long expressed frustration with the condition of city streets. City officials say they've invested heavily, with $27 million spent on street repairs last year and another $9 million this year, much of it funded through local option sales tax for major projects like Mary Street and Lake Road. Do you believe the city is doing enough to improve its streets for residents? If not, what specifically would you change and how would you pay for it? Mr. Hernandez, you'll have 2 minutes.
I think coming from an urban background planning, I know that infrastructure is an issue around the United States, not just in Ottumwa. The sprawl, the urban sprawl, is just not enough to be sustained by our tax base. So we're doing enough with the resources that we currently have. So I think we should just prioritize the infrastructure that has the most economic benefits and try to just continue doing that, and also prioritizing the ones that are deteriorated the most, because I think this is the only way that we're going to be able to be prosperous, and also just, like I said, it's urban sprawling is a very challenging subject or topic to talk about, because we're growing at a rapid rate, and then after that, then we see a decline in population, or just not enough tax base to cover the infrastructure, because it would have to be, like I said, prioritizing the economic ones that prioritizing the ones that have the economic development most impacted on, and as well as also the ones that are deteriorated the most.
Thank you. Mr. Troester, 2 minutes.
Out of all the cities I've lived in, I actually fully believe that Ottumwa fixes its streets faster than all of them possibly even combined. I think we take a surprisingly good care into our streets, and I think tearing them up to replace the sewer systems is an absolutely necessary project that just takes a lot of time, and I do believe we need to be patient and we need to keep going with it. A big thing I actually really care about that's not necessarily streets, but a lot of people use them for the same reason we would use streets, is sidewalks. I think there are very large chunks of space in the city that have no sidewalks, and a lot of people walk to work in the area. A lot of people may not own cars or have reliable transportation. They utilize that. I think we need more sidewalks, or to actually update our sidewalk system alongside of it.
Thank you. Mr. Reid, you'll have 2 minutes.
I've never been in a town that didn't have some areas of bad streets. I feel that Ottumwa does fairly well. I had a resident of our town just this last weekend, I believe it was actually on Friday, mentioned to me that they think our streets are pretty good. Obviously, there are places that have problems, and I heard just last night some people complaining about the streets and some difficulties. There's always going to be streets up here in the north, especially thawing, and the freezing thawing is going to create issues with the streets. I believe that we're doing the best we can with the monies that we have available, considering we've got this sewer separation project that we have to keep going. And so there's a limited amount of money that's available for the streets. But I believe the idea, like they're working on now, to prioritize what are the most important streets, that the streets are in the worst shape, or the streets that will benefit the most people. I believe that they're doing a good job of organizing that and planning it.
Thank you. Ms. Galloway, you have 2 minutes.
Yeah. So I don't want to repeat everything that people have said. So so as was mentioned, we have about $9.6 million in our budget this year going to streets and construction. So some of that is from carryover from last year because projects are coming to fruition. Usually we spend about $3 million. So let's break that down. $3 million is about 2 miles of streets. So we're not fixing a lot of streets, but we're spending a lot of money. So we have in our Public Works Department, Philip Bergmeyer is the director there, and he recognized that, and so he actually has started to implement some programs that I think have been really great. So we have like an asphalt patching program that has started over the last few years, and that has really, I think, really helped our streets in the last couple of years. But then also looking at how can we fix smaller areas and have an impact to those people. So we are fixing smaller side streets while also working on sewer separation, which is fixing larger areas. People talk about grants. We apply for the grants that we can. You know, it would be great if we could have a grant writer on staff that could truly help us, but we partner with Area 15 to do that. But it should also be known that most grants can't be used for residential streets. So with the monies that we have and the money that we're able to allocate from like local option sales tax or hotel motel tax, we're doing a lot with that money, and we're going to continue to do a lot with that money and figure out how to continue to put money towards streets to continue to make them better for you, while also making sure that we're following restrictions of the EPA. Don't Mike cut me, I'm done.
Thank you. Ms. Duprey, 2 minutes.
Well, I think they've pretty well covered it. The sewer separation obviously is costing an awful lot, and that takes the separate funds that they have applied for loans on and have been applying to the city streets. So as they're fixing the sewer, they're also fixing the street. And because of the program with the taxes, they're doing the side streets as well, using that money. And there's only so much money, and we have a lot of streets. We also have a very old city that has multiple types of, you know, we had brick streets, asphalt, cement. So it all takes time. And, you know, there's a back and forth on, do we use asphalt, do we use cement, which is more cost effective, which is going to last the longest. And I think the city's doing a good job trying to address those. Phil Bergman does have a map, and he's going around, and there's even, I heard last night, a website that you can go and pinpoint a pothole and get it fixed. I looked it up, and there's about 6 places where they're talking about the potholes. So they are working on it. I don't know that there's a better answer. We've only got so much money. If you look at our budget, we are limited, and they can't take money from other funds to fix the streets. If they could, I'm sure they would, but we're kind of got our hands tied at this point. As far as getting the grants and stuff, we've got a lot of people putting and working time and putting those in. The Mary Street was a grant or a bond, I believe. It was a grant. So, you know, they're working it. Thank you.
Thank you. Proclamations from Pride Month to traditional marriage have been controversial in Ottumwa. Should the city continue issuing proclamations? And if so, how should it be handled to represent the entire community? Mr. Troester, you have the first response for 2 minutes.
So, I fully believe that we should use proclamations to raise people up, especially the people who need it the most. And currently, our administration, our current federal administration, is engaging in one of the biggest power grabs we've ever seen, and most people would be very, very upset about it. So they have to give someone else to be upset about. And that has led to a lot of people attacking the LGBT community. And the original intent of the Pride Proclamation, which is what I'm assuming the focus on this will be, was to recognize that people of the LGBT community exist and they are here. It is there to help normalize it, bring them up, because currently they are not being brought up. It is actually so deep that the people who are behind the power grab are labeling or trying to get them labeled as terrorists. We need to bring them up. I think it was inappropriate to immediately try to swivel back and say, oh, they got something, we need to give it to everyone else, because that completely defeats the purpose. And I think a lot of people didn't recognize that it's not them being brought up above people who are in a straight marriage. It is actually bringing them, or attempting to bring them to the same level. There is no amount of proclamations we can actually do to counteract what's happening to these marginalized communities. And I think we should keep using the proclamations to help them. I would not hesitate to continue to do it if I were elected.
Quick follow-up. Pride Month, traditional marriage. Would you approve both proclamations, either or both?
I would not, because if you support both of them, I believe you don't know what you're voting for. Because the Pride Month was, like I said, an effort to bring up a group who is marginalized. They are not being supported. If you do that to both sides, what you're showing is that we don't actually recognize that we're trying to bring someone up. They're not getting an unfair treatment. They're getting the bare minimum we should be giving them.
Thank you. Mr. Reid?
Yes, sir. As far as the proclamations are concerned, I would like to see that left entirely to the mayor to do. I believe that's the thing that we see in the state of Iowa. The governor makes proclamations. I think for our city, it'd be good if the mayor did the proclamations, and that he or she would choose what they want to be, what they're going to do with proclamations. And as far as the two that were mentioned, the Pride Month and the traditional marriage, I don't see that the city ought to be promoting a group, any groups at all, just promoting things and making proclamations that will lift up our whole city, the vast majority of all of our people, things that are accomplished. Like, for instance, if we were able to get the sewer separation done, that would be a great proclamation, and get that put out there. So I'm just saying, proclamations, leave it to the mayor, and try to lift up the whole town with a proclamation.
Can I push back? Oh, you have clarifying questions.
You have the next response, Ms. Galloway.
So I can't have the 3 minutes then for pushing back and then the 2 minutes to talk?
We will see. How about we go 2 minutes and go from there?
So I guess I would just push back because Councilperson Reid, in a city council meeting, I said exactly what you said about how we should allow the mayor to do it, and I was pushed back on saying no, that the council should have a say on that. So I am glad to hear that you've changed your mind on that, but I guess I would love to know where, and I don't know if I can ask him a question, but I would love to know where that change of heart has come from. But if it's my turn.
Why don't you continue your response, and
Okay,
then we'll...
Thanks. So proclamations, I think a lot of time and energy have been spent on proclamations over the last few months. A lot of negative energy and press has come to Ottumwa. And I said it in a meeting that proclamations are meant to uplift our community, and I don't think that is where we are anymore with proclamations. I think that they have become such a sour piece that our city employees are now getting asked questions about proclamations and are being taken away from things like fixing the streets or trying to figure out different housing, whatever. But we're taking so much time and energy away from the work that we need to be doing to focus on proclamations. I agree that proclamations, and I said it, I've been seeing it for a while, the proclamation should stay with the mayor. That is, he or she is an elected official, and that is part of their power. And if we currently have a council that votes against that, then we are stripping an elected official of their power. So I do think that they should not be coming in front of the city council. Let's continue to have the mayor do that. Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Duprey, 2 minutes.
Well, I'd have to agree. I think that the proclamations belong with the mayor, and it should be the mayor's decision on what proclamations pass and what they don't. As far as what happened with our city, it did divide us more than unite us. And that's not what the purpose of a proclamation should be. It should be something that the whole city gets behind. So I think that it would need to stay with the mayor. The only time that it should ever reach the city council would be if there was a consensus in the community that they didn't feel that the mayor was representing them. Then I think then we probably would have to step in. But other than that, I think that a proclamation should be made by the mayor, but I think the mayor should use his diligence to look at, his or her diligence to look at, to see whether it's supporting the town and is uplifting everybody, not just a certain group or sector of the city. I don't think that's what a proclamation should be about. I think it should be all-inclusive, everybody.
Thank you. Mr. Hernandez?
Yeah, the proclamation, I believe, should stay with the mayor. He should determine, or she should determine what proclamation should be stated by the city. It should follow the same route that the state and the federal administration does for proclamations, and we shouldn't take that away. And I agree with Cara that we shouldn't take that away from our mayors, right?
Can I make a rebuttal that is not necessarily to Hernandez, but in general to a lot of statements that were made?
Well, we actually have another round of questions on this topic, so let's see if that takes care of it. Councilmember Reid, first I do want you to respond to what Ms. Galloway had raised about potential of your stance on the issue changing, but also during the discussions you had mentioned during the Pride Proclamation that you had opposed that because it singled out one group for special recognition. You did later vote for the traditional marriage proclamation, which seems to do the same thing. So do those viewpoints conflict with each other? And then also to Ms. Galloway's point about the shifting change. You have 2 minutes.
I do remember in our work session some confusion. We talked about different things. If you'll notice with that policy, it has been on the table for the last few council meetings. I believe that it'll eventually come off, need to be dealt with, but I believe the policy that we came up with that night needs to be defeated, and a new policy saying that it belongs to the mayor should be established. And so that's just something that I've come, I felt uncomfortable with it that night as to which way we were going, and it's just as time has passed, that's just been my thinking to go, hey, it's the mayor can do that, that's a good, and especially when I heard that, on a state level, the governor does that. And it's not anything with legislature or anything, it's the governor. As far as the proclamations, yes, I did feel like it was with the Pride Proclamation, we were giving the month of June to, as Pride Month. And my thinking at the time was, okay, we don't give that to our veterans, we don't give that to our teachers, we don't give that to nurses or first responders and people like that. I felt like that was overmuch. Honor was my thinking there at the time. But there was also another issue I didn't bring up, and that is that I felt from what I'd heard about, not that I'd seen it, but I'd heard that there were some things that went on with children being exposed to some drag queens and things, and I didn't think that was appropriate either. So that was my reason primarily for voting against that.
So if the proclamation was more about a single day for Pride, would you have supported that?
Well, again, the issue with the children, if the children are going to be exposed to, I feel like that's a serious thing. If the children are exposed to the drag queens or something that would be, I feel, damaging to them, I could not vote for that.
And then for the rest of the individuals, how would you approach decisions like proclamations where inclusivity and recognition of different groups are at stake? What role should the council play in fostering respect and unity amongst all residents? Mr. Troester, you'll have the first response for 2 minutes.
I think this actually ties into the rebuttal I was wanting to do. Surprise. So, two big things I need to keep in mind, and I do want to share. I heard a lot of, we don't want to cause division, we don't want to be afraid to stir the pot, but my real thought on this is, no, we need to keep doing what's right. People will be upset no matter what you do. At least be right, or at least be confident in doing the right thing to help people. This community is incredibly diverse, and when we make statements like that, we're hurting people. We are hurting people. The people who are upset are just mad that it's happening, but the people who are actually being targeted by it are being put down really, really hard. And I've also heard a lot of people saying, focus on what's important. Let's make sure we're talking about the roads. Let's make sure we're talking about the people in here. But human rights and caring about each other is important. It is one of the most important things we should be doing as this town. We need to help each other out, especially groups that are being targeted. We need to do that.
Thank you. The next response will go to Mr. Hernandez. You have 2 minutes.
Could you repeat the question?
Sure. How would you approach decisions like proclamations where inclusivity and recognition of different groups are at stake? What role should the council play in fostering respect and unity among all residents?
Like I mentioned before, I think we should continue doing it with like the state and federal, and just continue letting them make decisions. I come from a diverse background, and I understand that there is some, like I said, there's proclamations. It's kind of hard to determine what a proclamation is classified as, and like I said, I think the mayor should decide that.
Thank you. Ms. Duprey, 2 minutes.
Could you repeat it one more time? Sorry.
Absolutely. I love talking. How would you approach decisions like proclamations where inclusivity and recognition of different groups are at stake? What role should the council play in fostering respect and unity among all residents?
Well, as the city council, the proclamation would be for the whole city, and it should stay with the mayor. As far as diversity, yes, our city is very diverse. It's always been diverse from the very beginning. And as I said in an earlier debate, I live in a neighborhood that is quite diverse, but I don't look at my neighbors by their diversity. I look at them as my neighbors. Are they keeping their yard clean? Are they taking their garbage out? I don't see those kind of things, and I think that's how, as a city council person, we should be looking at everything. We don't see the diversity. We're all citizens of Ottumwa. Years ago, the town was divided by social economic status, the north versus the south, and that was really a divide. And we don't even have that anymore because it's pretty much equal all over. There's neighborhoods that have lower income next to houses that are upper income. I think that we do have to help one another along the way, and that's what we do as a community. That's how I would leave the proclamations with the mayor. That's my answer.
Thank you. And Ms. Galloway, 2 minutes.
Can you read it one more time?
Sure. You can tell me which time was the best. Get to the right page. How would you approach decisions like proclamations where inclusivity and recognition of different groups are at stake? What role should the council play in fostering respect and unity among all residents?
That was the best. I think that we are putting so much power into a proclamation when what you're really talking about is a completely different thing. First and foremost, the council is involved in the diversity and making people feel welcome in our community. It is in our 2040 comprehensive plan. But there is so much more to celebrating our community and the diversity that makes our community great than a proclamation. We have events that celebrate our people. There is so much more we can do. We can make sure that the people behind the counters that work for the city, our engineers, our people look like and are made up of people in our community. We can ensure that when residents get notices from the city, that they are in a language that they understand, or they have access to a language that they understand, so that they are making sure that they know what they need to do. We can have I think our website does have Google Translate I mean, it's not the best, but at least people can go on the website and understand what's going on so that they can truly be part of our community. We as a city council need to do, well, I know I do, need to do a better job at reaching out to all members of our community, all diversities, all cultures, to ensure that I truly understand the needs of those, because our culture and our community, or our culture makes our community great. And it is part of our 2040 plan, and that's, I mean, besides proclamations, like throw proclamations back to the mayor, and let's just be good people and celebrate the people of our community.
Ottumwa's consolidated property tax levy is about $45.72 per $1,000 of taxable value, among the highest in Iowa, while local wages remain some of the lowest. That makes taxes a heavier burden here than in many other communities. The council recently approved its first tax increase in several years to balance the budget, partly due to state law changes that have limited local revenue options. As a council member, how would you balance the need to ease the tax burden on residents with the responsibility to fund essential city services? First response is Ms. Galloway for 2 minutes.
Thank you. So I recognize that our taxes are high. I recognize that our property valuations are low. And so this is a big issue. I've talked about it before, and I'll talk about it again. We have to find new ways to bring revenue into our community. And the people in Des Moines have eliminated ways that we can bring revenue into our communities through House File 718. So we have, even though we may have there may be cities that are comparable to us, they have higher valuations. We have lower valuations, meaning that we have to spend more in our taxes. So we need to have new revenue sources. We need to be creative and strategic in our investments, and we need to bring housing here to, drive those property valuations down. I mean, we really have to bring in new revenue. We need to get local control back to us on how we can raise money. So you all voted, I voted, I don't know if you all voted for it, but we have local option sales tax. That is a tax that we, the people, voted on. The people in Des Moines are talking about taking that away or redistributing that. That is how, if that goes away or we get less money, so we bring money into Wapello County and Ottumwa, and then they say, oh, you don't get to keep all that money. If that goes away, guess what? We're gonna see our taxes go up even more. They took away levies, so we had to take our library and our venue and put that in with the general fund. We lost money. In the first year of 718, we lost $600,000. So guess what? That means that your taxes went out because we lost money, and we have to bring that revenue in somewhere. So we have to have strategic investments. We have to have different ways to bring in new revenue sources.
Thank you. Ms. Duprey, you have 2 minutes.
That's a big problem. I mean, they already know that this year's budget, they're not going to make ends meet. And we don't know what's going to happen up in Des Moines. They may take more away, and if they do, our taxes are already high. Our community cannot afford it, with us being one of the lower paid salaries in the area. I think we need to, obviously go through the budget and look and see if there's ways we can save. I don't know how, there's not grants or anything that you can get to take care of everything. we do need a lot of help, but we need to take each line item and look at it. Do we really need this? It's kind of like at home. If things happen, you figure out a way to redo your budget with what you have as income. And that's about the only way we're going to get through this.
I have a rebuttal.
1 minute, Ms. Galloway.
Can you all start rebuttaling too? I would say that, so we and the staff have gone line by line. Before they even turned the budget in, the staff was asked to go line by line and cut. They sent the budget in, and yes, the city council got the budget, and then we sent it back out, and they were asked to cut again. I mean, our staff is working bare bones already, you know, and so if we have to start cutting, the next thing we're gonna have to start cutting is services and people. And we have to also maintain something. So we have gone line by line. We have asked our staff to go line by line too. And so those are the kind of cuts that we're gonna have to see next, unless we get creative in the way we bring revenue in.
Mr. Hernandez, you have 2 minutes.
Yeah, I understand that taxes are high, but we just have to look for different methods of diversifying the economy. Also look at different organizations and partnerships and seeing how we can work together. Ask the larger employers. It's like, if there's an opportunity for job expansion, why don't we look at local entrepreneurships, seeing what's stopping them from growing, and reaching out to them, and just being communication is key to having a successful community, and just making sure that everyone's heard and knowing their challenges they're facing, and making sure that we can work together as partnerships and see if we can, like I said, create new jobs, and just look at the essentials, because I talked to the fire chief, and he said that most staffing is over 30 hours a week, or they're working 50 to 60 or 70 hours a week, and we need to just make sure that we're funding the essentials and making sure that we ensure those, but also having a balance, because we can't cut up everything. We can't cut up the recreational, because we have those amenities such as a legacy soccer fields, which I really enjoy, and I just wouldn't want to see that be taken away just because budget cuts. So like I said, just finding a balance, just working together, figuring out how we can grow as a community, and just like I said, communication. Communication is what's going to be important to collaborate with all the community key members.
Thank you. Mr. Troester, 2 minutes.
I fully believe that there is absolutely no short-term solution to this. We will expect things to be more difficult in the next 5 to 10 years, and we have to look long-term. In the short term, I think the biggest thing we can do is ease people's anxieties by letting them know and easily be able to access the information about where all the money is being spent. And I'm sorry for those of you that heard this when I shared it at the forum, but I think it's absolutely necessary to be repeated. When my property taxes went up way outside of the budget that I was currently planning when I bought the home, it stressed me out because, and my immediate thought was anger. Why? Why is so much being put in this? And it would have made me feel a lot better if I could easily see, oh, this is exactly how much money is being spent on a sewer separation project. Here's exactly how much money is being sent towards revitalizing this main street. Here's how much is going towards a park. If I knew that money is going back to me, at least I can be less mad about it, and I can recognize I'm happy for what's being provided to me, and I can try to focus on that long term.
Thank you. Mr. Reid, 2 minutes.
Obviously, taxes, age-old problem, right? The taxes are a regressive thing because they punish you for doing the right thing. If you increase your home value, you get to pay more taxes, and that's a regressive thing. Even with the loss tax and the sales tax there, if you spend more, if you increase the economy by spending more, you get to pay more taxes. So taxes are always a regressive thing. We want to bring up our economy. We need to bring in more money from out of town into town to increase our amount of profit here, our amount of money available for things here. And that's economic development, like we've already talked about. And so ideas are the great need. How do we get that economic development? How do we bring in key businesses that will really help us? No one wants to cut any services. No one wants to drop something off that we currently have. One of the things that's in the budget is a page that shows our comparison to 6 other communities our size. And if you look at that list, you do see that it shows that we bring in the 6th amount. In other words, there's only one community there that brings in less taxes from their people than we do. And so that's an interesting, our rate is high because our property value is low. And so we wish we could fix those things and make them better, but it's a difficult problem.
Thank you. Quick follow-up question for all 5 of you before we continue. In order to balance the budget, you had a choice between raising taxes or cutting services. Which would you choose? We'll start with Ms. Duprey.
Oh, that's a tough one. I don't think that we can cut many services anymore. Our police department is understaffed. Our fire department, understaffed. They're working 150 to 200 hours every 2 weeks. We're going to lose people if we try to put more burden on them and cut that staff. So the only place that we could look at would be to go back to the budget and see where salaries are. There's been a lot of salaries that have increased over the last 3 years, and the upper management. I don't know, maybe that needs to be cut some. Maybe we need to look at some of our spending. If you look at the monthly, I think it's one of the packets that puts in what they're spending on a monthly basis, and there's line items in there that are questionable in my opinion. I wouldn't want to cut there, and I wouldn't want to raise our taxes. I don't know, I think we need to look at the budget.
Apologies, just 1 minute response for each of you. Mr. Troester?
Oh, to take a hard stance, I would cut services. Services are pointless if people can't afford their house and they don't have a house anymore.
Mr. Reid?
So I don't know that, I feel like the budget is pretty tight. I don't really see that there's any place we can cut money out of it. I would feel that there's, services where we need those. People need things for quality of life and so on. I don't feel like we can cut much in services either. Our fire, like has been mentioned, is already bare bones. Other departments are running understaffed. And so the key is more income. We have to come up with other sources of income.
Mr. Hernandez?
If looking like at talking to all the directors, it's like it is a very tight budget, and funding is always going to be the item that does challenge a project to push forward. But I think it's case by case, pushing back projects possibly, and just working along with the directors and also just the chiefs out there and staff, seeing what could be pushed back for projects, because it's a really tight budget, so it'd be very challenging to cut services, because we also do need those quality of life items, like I mentioned, soccer fields, park and recs, but we also need our public safeties, because we are very limited with staffing, and also just all the amenities that make Ottumwa Ottumwa.
Ms. Galloway?
So let's be honest, when we're talking about what services are we cutting, we're talking about public safety. Public safety makes up 2/3 of our general fund. So when we're talking about services, that's what we're talking about, and that's not what people are saying. So 2/3 of our general fund is made up of public safety. So yeah, we could cut services, but you're going to want someone to show up to your house when it's on fire. When you're going to want someone to show up to your house if it gets broken into. I don't want to raise taxes, but I also don't want to cut services. So Dan or Mr. Reid said, how can we bring in revenue? But that's a slow process. So yeah, we might have to raise taxes because I want to make sure you all are safe too. We also need to advocate better in Des Moines. We, as a city, need to get out. We need our people to get out and say, stop taking away local control. Let us decide how we bring in revenue. Stop trying to take that away from us.
Could I mention also, you know, some folks would say, well, the sewer separation, we need to scale that back or save, you know, use some of that money. The problem with that is it's just going to cost more if you wait. If you delay it a few, you know, years, it's just going to be that much more expensive to do the same thing. And I feel like that has to keep going.
Thank you. Mr. Reid, on the topic of the alcohol liquor license votes, you've mentioned that your no votes reflect your faith and concerns for residents' well-being, but that you vote yes if there weren't enough council members to pass the measure. Why not take that approach consistently, given your oath to serve the community as a whole? You have 2 minutes.
So I do vote no on the alcohol renewals and new licenses that might come up. And I do that because of the, first of all, I'm quite confident where the rest of the council is going to vote, but there are so many dangers and troubles that come with alcohol, from health to family to finances. Even the CDC will tell you that it's the most abused drug. It'll tell you that a community should consider making it less available and more expensive. And I think as much damage as alcohol does, that it's good that there be at least somebody to say, hey, think about this. There's a better way. There's a different way. You don't have to give this a 100% positive vote. And so then when it comes to our businesses, I don't think that it's my place. If somebody's doing something legally, which obviously alcohol is, then I don't think it's my place to vote and shut them down.
I would like to say something on that.
Just one moment, Ms. Galloway. Thank you, Dan. For the rest of the candidates, how do you balance your personal conscience with your duty to represent the entire community? And are there any personal beliefs, such as alcohol or liquor licenses, that you feel that you would not be able to set aside while voting? Ms. Galloway, you have the first response to that question for 2 minutes.
Well, I just want to comment, first off, we are here to serve the people, not our beliefs. And so there are going to be times where you may disagree with it, but like pit bulls, I will tell you, I have voted I voted against an ordinance that I wrote because I think that pit bulls should be allowed in our community. I have talked with people, I've done things like that, you know, and so I wrote an ordinance, and because I had talked and done the research and worked with our community members, I voted against it. But I also, going back to Mr. Reid, that's something, we're talking about bringing revenue into our communities. We're talking about services that we have to cut, not costing taxpayers even more money. And should someone else get on council and that fail, we are opening ourselves up for lawsuits, because you have to have a lawful reason not to vote for a liquor license or to deny a liquor license. We are also potentially costing small businesses revenue, again, trying to bring money into our community. And so we are setting the city up for harm and setting our taxpayers up to pay any lawsuits for that. But I do believe that you should ensure that every vote, how is this going to affect our community today and tomorrow, and what is this the best for our community today and tomorrow, and that's how we should be voting.
Thank you. Mr. Reid, she mentioned you. Would you like a minute to respond?
Yeah. So, you know, if we have all of these alcohol places where people can buy alcohol and so on, and then we open up another place where people can buy alcohol, what are we really doing? All we're doing is shuffling up. People would have bought it here, but now they go over there and get it. It hasn't really brought in new. I would think that the established businesses would be concerned about more and more places having a liquor license, because it just takes away business from our current businesses.
But is that a lawful reason to vote against a liquor license? That is the Iowa Code, Chapter 123.23, I think, or .34, identifies to vote against a liquor license or to deny a liquor license, you have to have a lawful reason. Is that a lawful reason?
So we do not deny my no vote does not deny them their license. And I believe that we have the opportunity, because of the harm that it does to our community. Alcohol is a dangerous thing. It's a toxic substance. There's people that I know that are in wheelchairs today because of alcohol that was used in prior years. Have suffered much. There's families, there's children who don't have what they would like to have or need to have because it's been spent other ways. I think it's good that there be at least a thought that it's not the way to go for everybody.
Thank you. The next response to the question is Ms. Duprey. You have 2 minutes.
What was the original question?
You know, I almost just went ahead and read it again. How do you balance your personal conscience with your duty to represent the entire community? And are there any personal beliefs you would find difficult to set aside when voting?
I don't believe I'd have any difficulty setting aside my own personal feelings. When you go through nursing training, you're taught that when you enter the door to a patient's room, you leave all feelings at the door because you're taking care of a patient. And that's the way I would approach the city council. I would be looking at each proposal or item that we would be voting on individually and doing my duty as a council person to look at it from both sides, all sides, do my due diligence looking at what they're asking and what would be good for the community, not my feelings, not any organization I belong to's feelings. It would be what was good for the city overall.
Thank you. Mr. Hernandez, 2 minutes.
I would approach it like my career. I usually come at a neutral stance. I look at it from both sides. I don't pick sides. Usually, like with any topic that comes in with like any agenda items in my career, I usually come in as a neutral stance, present information, and make sure I do my, like I said, due diligence and research regarding that topic. So I would just look at it at a neutral stance, do my research, and making sure that it's best for the community, because it's like I'm not going to be making decisions based on my beliefs or my background. I would just be doing it as for what I was elected for, what's best for the community, approaching it that way, because like it's like whatever we decide on right now is going to impact us and make this town for tomorrow, and we just have to be smart with our decisions and make sure that we're approaching it as the best as we can for the community.
Thank you. And Mr. Troester, 2 minutes for you.
Ultimately, I am science-minded first and foremost. I will listen to experts. If experts say something is good for the city, I am very inclined to listen, no matter what my opinions are on it. But big thoughts I have on this is, because we're talking about the alcohol sales in Ottumwa, my thought is, if it can be sold, it should be sold in Ottumwa. This is a competition with small cities in Iowa. They are dwindling. They're all conglomerating into one area. We don't want to not offer something that, for example, Oskaloosa does. Also, as for my personal opinions, there's only one thing that's non-negotiable, and that's bringing up marginalized communities. I will not budge on that. I think people need what they need, and people need different things, and we should recognize that.
We will now have closing statements. Each one of you will have 3 minutes. And we will start with Ms. Duprey.
Well, I'm running for city council because I love Ottumwa. I'm a 6th generation Ottumwan. My family came here in 1846, settled out in Green Township. So my roots are deep. I didn't grow up here the whole time, but I came here every summer, spent my summers running around the south side with my cousins. And when I look at things, I look at it through the perspective of my career. I had 27 years looking at budgets and plans and making hard decisions on how we were supposed to move forward. I also have a nursing career, which I worry about the health of the community. And I think I bring a lot to the table, because when I do look at things, I look at it with a total different perspective than most people. I am retired. I have plenty of time. I want to see this city grow. I think that the plans that they have with the 2040 and the thriving community are good starters. We can do better. We can keep going. We have to keep being positive. We need a good, we need to clean up our streets a little bit to make ourselves more attractive to industry to come in here. So I would like to see a place where young people would want to come, raise their families, buy homes, have good paying jobs, basically have the American dream like we were all raised with. And I think that I could give some good perspective on that. And because I have lived in other places, I had come with some new ideas. But I'd like to work with the community and help them grow.
Thank you. Ms. Galloway, closing statement.
Yeah, I am running for re-election again because I believe in Ottumwa. I believe in the progress that has happened in Ottumwa, and I can see what Ottumwa can look like tomorrow and down the road. I am not from here. I call myself a transplant. I've been here for 10 years with my daughter, and I choose to live in Ottumwa because I love Ottumwa. I love the people. I love the community. I love the diversity of Ottumwa. I love Ottumwa. I have sat on this council going on 4 years, and I feel like I have learned a lot. I feel that I have asked challenging questions. I've brought a backbone when we've needed it, and I've slowed us down a little bit to say, hey, we need to talk about this more. We need to understand this issue more. Let's, have work sessions. I feel like I bring a neutral perspective, but I'm not afraid to ask those questions. I'm not afraid to go to the department heads to ask questions, to staff. I pride myself on talking to the community, to returning calls, to figuring out solutions to problems that community members bring me. I'm running again because this community is my home. It's my daughter's home. I love this town. I love this community, and I love the people here. And I will continue to fight for it. And I believe that I am one of the best people to be and to continue to be on the city council.
Thank you. Mr. Reid, closing statement, 3 minutes.
So I'm excited about Ottumwa. I feel like Ottumwa is going in a good direction, and I think we have exciting prospects and things that are coming together and happening. I was born here in town, but didn't get to stay past eighth grade. We had to move away with John Morrell, my dad's job, and so came back in '92, so I've been here quite a while. I love this town. I consider this my hometown. I want to see it go forward. I want to see the city be a great place for all of our citizens, a place where we have secure and peaceful neighborhoods and security. The word I meant to say there was the idea of prosperous jobs and so on. And so I believe that Ottumwa has exciting prospects ahead. There are some things that for this great group of people called Ottumwa, I would like to see us get some more housing going. I feel like that's an important need that we can get going with our thriving community operation there. I think that we need to make better access to our industrial park out there. That's a little project that I think needs to happen there by Tractor Supply, better access for big trucks into that area. We have a great airport out there that needs, we'd like to use more, use it better on a GA area, general aviation, but also if we could get some commercial things in there, that would be great, especially maybe package stuff at first. We have a great airport, better than many communities have. And I know that the crew out there have done a good job of preparing and improving some things and making things good. I have a few other ideas of things I'd like to see. I'd like to see us develop a river park there along the river, between the levee and the river. I think that would be an interesting development and a quality of life thing. Something that I would like to see us have as well is a crew of volunteer people who would help both in the fall for a few weeks and then again in the spring, and that would just go out and it'd be a time of picking up trash, making our city look cleaner, just a volunteer group that would help us spruce up our city, and I think that's something that we could establish as well.
Thank you. Mr. Troester, 3 minutes.
I fully believe Ottumwa is in a position to thrive. I think the school district has recognized that, and I'm very happy to be a part of that. And they're actually the primary reason why I decided to stay here with my young family for the long term. But we need to recognize we need real change in a mindset, and we need to make sure that happens fast. We need to be the first ones to do these things in Southeast Iowa. If we're not, someone else will take our business, someone else will take our communities. And we need to think of new ideas to make all of this happen. We need to use as many evidence-based decisions as we can. We need to look at what other cities have done. We need to scan their data. What have they discovered? Maybe they'll save us time in our research. And I believe we need people willing to see us through long term. If there's constantly a cycling of people in charge running through these plans, then it's just going to keep going back to recycling the same old ideas if we don't see it through. And I do believe we need to focus on small businesses. If we're going to get people here, people care about the new, unique small businesses. They're not that focused on a major retail place. They have Amazon. They're going to go to that. They want to know about that delicious food, that great, awesome bookstore, something they can go experience. And if people are going to do that, they need to feel supported. Different communities need to feel supported. They need to feel welcome here. They're not going to move here and open their small businesses if they don't see that from the outside. And I can do all of this, and I do believe starting tomorrow, you should be able to vote early. If you want to make all that happen, vote Troester.
Thank you. And finally, Mr. Hernandez, 3 minutes.
I just wanted to thank everyone first for having me tonight, and I just wanted to let you know that I bring experience with my transportation background and also my urban planning background. It's like I'm familiar with the funding, the state, federal administration with funding sources. I also am aware about collaboration and comprehensive planning and bike pedestrian planning. I'm currently, that's what the passion is, making sure that the vision from comprehensive plans and pedestrian trail plans are executed and have a strategy to execute those. And that's why I think I would make a good candidate. Just making sure that we as a community are successful, making sure that everyone is proud to live in Ottumwa. Also just having, like I said, a different perspective as a transportation planner, and just taking advantage of what makes Ottumwa unique. And then working together. I volunteer. I'm very involved with the Main Street Ottumwa and the Economic Vitality Group, so I'm aware of all the challenges and the support that we can use. The Wapello County Trails Group, I'm also involved with that as well. LULAC, I also try to volunteer, secretary for them, and then the transportation, the 1015 Transportation Board, I'm involved in, and I know about the challenges that every organization faces, and seeing if we can collaborate. So I'm very familiar with all the roles that we have to play in. All these challenges that Ottumwa does face is these are adaptive challenges. These aren't technical challenges that we can have a solution. We have to just keep figuring out how to work together working towards a solution, because we're never going to get to a solution. We're always going to be working to making ourselves better, and just enjoy the momentum that Ottumwa is creating for the development in Market Street and also Main Street, because Ottumwa has came a long ways. Main Street was not the Main Street that we know today, and it's just been just eye-opening seeing all that come to life, and I just want to be part of that and contribute to that, and just making sure that everything is planned correctly. My slogan is Ottumwa, let's plan Ottumwa's future together. So I just want to let everyone know that together we're going to plan this together and make sure that everything is successful and executed correctly. And just passionate about development, and I just hope that you guys go out and vote for whoever you think is best. And my name's Hector Hernandez, and thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming out tonight, and to those that joined us here in person as well as those watching at home. We obviously the biggest reason GOPIP and the Courier and the radio did this is because we feel that informed voters are the most important thing to our communities. So certainly love that you guys all participated with that. As it was alluded to earlier, early voting does begin tomorrow. There is voter registration cards out front. And Election Day is on November 4th. With that, that will conclude our program and debate series. Thanks again.